Hello, everybody. We should be live now. I have got little Miss Willow back there who's joining me. She's taking a nap now. We'll see. I might need to get up and let her out at some point if she decides to wake up and wants to go. Welcome. My name is Misty, and this is Crafty Soup. I go live once a month with this particular challenge, which is my Mystery Box Makes Challenge. Off to the side, I have a box of mystery supplies that I will reach into, pull out 3 items, and set about creating some kind of project. Often it's a card or scrapbook page. I've been really wanting to come up with some other ideas, maybe tags or like a notebook kind of thing, but I'm just not sure what will happen. Those are the ideas I would like to bring in, but sometimes when you're just trying to figure out how to put 3 weird supplies together, you never know what you're gonna get. I'm gonna chit chat just for a minute here and see if anybody happens to be able to join us live today. It is 4 p.m. here on the West Coast, which is a little awkward for people's work schedules. On the East Coast, it's a little bit later, so it's hard to pick a time that kind of hits that happy spot for everybody. So this works for my schedule, and that's what I do. I do have another live project that I do once a month, and that is my Advent All Year project. I use the Spellbinders Crafty Advent Calendar, and I come up with alternative ways to use the die sets, mostly die sets, from that calendar and come up with projects that were kind of never intended when those die sets were designed. So I try to look at them in very different ways. So both of these series are about creative thinking. I don't see anybody popping in the chat just yet, so you might be watching me on replay instead, and that is totally fine because these are here for that. One other piece of business before we get started. Anybody who does pop in live, you won't be able to comment initially because, unless you're already a member, that is, because I have a timer set to try and keep trolls out. So if you've been subscribed for at least 20 minutes, then you should be able to interact with me over in the live chat. So if you want to join me in the future, if you're watching this on replay, just know that that is a thing, and you'd be better off subscribing so that you can interact with us. All right, I am going to go ahead and dive in. I try to keep these lives to about an hour. I give myself up to an hour and a half, but that's kind of the hard limit. Depends on what we're making, and we'll go ahead and dive in. Let me switch screens here. Oh, hi Lynn. I did see somebody pop in. Lynn is here. Welcome, glad to have you. Hopefully you can hear me and see me okay. Everything's looking good on my end. The last few months I've had random tech difficulties and had to work around things. All right, as I was saying, let me go ahead and change over to this screen, which is my picker wheel. So one thing I did not mention is that I also have a bag of mystery pattern paper. I know it's all Simple Stories. It's all Simple Stories. And I also have a bag of mystery 12x12 stencils. So you might see those things on my picker wheel here. And let's go ahead and give this a spin. I will spin it 3 times and we will figure out what we'll be working with this time around. Okay, big box looks like it's gonna be. When I pulled my big box off the shelf, it's starting to get lightweight. So I think I've been working out of this box for the past almost 2 years. So I'm starting to get through the products in there. So big box is item number 1. Let's go ahead and spin again. Let's see what else we got. Okay, we're gonna do the big box again. A lot of the products from the box lately have been stencils. Trying to remember die sets. So yeah, we'll see how all of that comes together. So far 2 out of the box. One more time. And 3 out of the big box. This might be a first since I started using this picker wheel. So that is interesting. I will go ahead and set the paper and stencils aside. And let's switch screens again so that Oh, that's my face. Here we go. We've got both now. So I've got my mystery box here. I'm going to reach in. I try not to look. I try not to let my sense of touch influence me, but it can be hard at times. So I'm just trying to grab the first thing. This feels like maybe a flyer or maybe my invoice. So let me take this. Oh, no, I can feel something else in there. Okay, I think it's a die. All right. Slay every day. Okay, I like this because my daughter, as was slaying for a while, used the word slay a lot. So that is fun. That is fun. So maybe I might end up doing a scrapbook page with her on there. Who knows? Let's see. Oh, I can feel something that feels like an ink pad. Indeed, it is. It's a Simon Says Stamp ink in slate, premium dye ink. I was thinking at first that I could... Oh, this is a die, not a stamp. I was thinking this was a stamp for some reason. Thought I could stamp in watercolor, but the dye ink does not watercolor. Okay. However, this next one feels big, and it feels like a rubber stamp. Let's see what we've got. I'm trying not to peek. It is definitely a rubber stamp set. Merry Christmas. All right, let it snow. Magical December. Oh boy. Okay, I'm feeling challenged. That's what this is all about. Although I do have some ink to go with that. Oh, you know what I could do? I could just use the icons on these. I don't have to use the sentiment. I love this little lantern. This bomb is kind of interesting. It might especially go with some of the slang kind of things. And then we've got a star and a heart. So that's where my brain is going first, although I do see some gifts. So let me think about, do I want to make a tag? That's what I've been thinking, since I don't have a lot of projects. Well, let me take a look at my story binder. My story binder, really, it's just a binder of sheet protectors that I keep photos with notes together, and I kind of keep a list of the stories I want to tell, because if I don't keep a list, I find myself duplicating things because I have a terrible memory, and that is why I scrapbook. So let me pull out my story binder. Let's see, and I'm going to pull out my daughter's story binder. Fiona is turned 19. She turned 19 earlier this year, and so not a kid anymore. But I still have some of her stories to tell until she tells me to stop. Some of the other kids have, well, my oldest definitely is like not want to be public like that, and my middle kid, I'm just not around very much, so I don't have as many stories to tell. So I'm going to keep telling Fiona stories while I have access to those. So trying to make sure I'm not, maintaining privacy in terms of posting everything on the internet. Let's see. Oh, you know what? I kind of like this story. Okay, it's kind of a weird photo. Okay, I'm going to pull this out. So these are the notes that I keep with them. I just use these 3x5 cards. Sometimes I'll draw a sketch, or I'll write down a list of supplies I want to use, things like that. These days it's usually just the date, who was involved, and just the really basics, because I think more on the fly these days than I used to, as this project kind of refers to. So let's see, what are my notes here? This was a road trip she took with her bestie, because her bestie graduated from high school in 2024, and Fiona had another year left to go after that, and so she and her bestie took a road trip to kind of say farewell to the days of being together at high school. So, planning, saving routes, contingencies. Okay, so these are just kind of my thoughts that I wanted to add, and I think the point of that was to leave room for her to journal and add her own perspective, because when she came home from the trip, she definitely wanted to tell us about everything that happened on the trip. So I think I'm going to do that. I'm going to leave 2 different sections open for journaling, one for her and one for me. And this is the photo that I have. So they took our car on the trip, and they took turns driving. Um, and along the way, they were keeping track of the sights, mostly animals. So we've got cows, sheep, pigs, ostrich, a wolverine, horses, goats, donkey, cat, something. I don't know what that says. There was something on here that I thought, oh, slug bugs. That was one of them, because her friend plays serious slug bug and it punches a little harder than I ever would want to play. I thought there was something funny on here. I don't find it. It says hey. Okay, anyway, I'm getting distracted myself. So this is the story I'm going to tell. I'm going to leave journaling space for her and me. I think this lantern works very well because they were camping on this trip. So that works. The heart works. I think the star works. How can I... Maybe I can cut this out. Let's see what this die is. Okay, it is all one piece. So these overlap. So it might be a little hard just to get the word day. And it is still attached together, so I'm going to need my metal clippers. Let me go ahead and grab those. Now we got to clip this old-fashioned die apart. These were made in the US for a long time, but the only company that was manufacturing dies in the United States went out of business. And so now all the dies are coming from overseas, which means we can get them pre-cut apart, which is nice. However, having them manufactured in the US was also nice. So that is the trade-off these days. And I tell you, I have cut myself on these little metal spurs more than once in the past. And that is why a lot of people did not like I've never had the problem where my tools didn't fit. Let me see, I have one more pair that might be a little bit smaller. Yep, these are smaller. Okay, those are gonna fit. Yeah, in the day we used to sit and just have to die cut all these teeny tiny things apart. I'm glad this one's not too much nipping, because you don't want to see me do a lot of that, right? Okay, getting close. This one's not too bad. I will probably, despite the danger of having these little sharp pieces there, I don't know if you can kind of see it, but I will try and be careful and cut those off later, so you don't have to watch me do that. And then we can use this piece. It looks like all the letters are cut out individually, so they are all going to drop out, and we'll have to puzzle piece them back together. Okay, I'm going to need some paper for this story, so give me a moment. I'm going to shut off the mic so you don't hear me creaking and crackling around, and then I will be back in a minute. Okay, try not to leave you hanging too long. I can get distracted when I'm choosing papers. Okay, what I did is I have a file in my paper storage of animal prints. So since a lot of the notes on the photo list were of animals, I just grabbed a few of the things that caught my attention, and as you can see, some of them aren't full 12 by 12, so we can piece things together and use them in different ways. The other thing I was thinking is it was a camping trip, so maybe I want to pull some of the camping embellishments. Okay, I'm going to put you on hold one more time. Give me a minute. Okay, quickly pulling a few things. I did find some camping themed papers in my outdoor file, as well as this one with a big tent. And you know, I know a lot of people have a hard time using these bigger prints. What I usually do is create little zones with smaller photos. However, my one I believe it's a 5x7 photo, could just kind of fit in there nicely. And one technique that I learned from Alice Bowl at Scrap Happy is to kind of cut around some of these edges and tuck things in. So I'm thinking I might want to do that. Again, that's kind of a slow process to do on a live, but that's where the creative mind is taking me today. So I'm thinking I will go ahead and do that. Let's see, how can I incorporate some of these other papers? This yellow fits nicely, and it's got an outdoorsy print to it. On their road trip, they did spend part of their time in Oregon and part of their time in California, so we might want to use the bear because it is on the California flag. Blue. This blue could be good for layering behind the photo. I'm going to set these things aside for now and see what we can get started with. So let me start with matting this photo. I'm going to move this out of the way so I don't lose track of it. Let's mat this photo on some blue. And let's get this cut out and tucked under there. And then, you know what? Actually, I'm thinking maybe I'll save the blue to make journaling tags because this is easier to write on than some of the other prints. And I'll mat my photo on the yellow. That I think will work out a little bit better. So my photo is 5x7. I will make my mat 1/2 inch bigger, so 7.5. And yes, I want my 7.5 this way with the print going up and down, and then 5.5 for the width of my mat, and that should make a good photo mat. Let's see. Go ahead and get this attached. So I'm curious, for those of you, I mean, Lynn is here live, but anybody watching on replay, or Lynn, if you guys scrap on the fly or if you have to come up with a plan before you sit down to work. I used to be very much a planner. until I did enough scrapbook layouts that I felt like I'm using enough of the same techniques over and over again that they were all just kind of felt like they were coming naturally and in my head already. And that's when I started doing stuff like this so that I could like be able to retrieve that information on the fly so that it was ingrained enough that I could just kind of be spontaneous with things. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm not going to be too careful with this cutting, and I am the worst craft knife user in the world, so I'm just going to be really kind of simple with this. I am not tracing every nook and cranny because I will not be able to get straight lines. Okay, once I've got that line done, I can try and stay on the same line, and this is where my blade skills are terrible because I often go out of that line. I don't know how people do so well with craft knives, and there were the days where before trimmers, when people only had craft knives to use, and I don't think I would have made a great paper crafter at that point in time because my craft knife skills are not great. I think I'm going to go ahead and go all the way around, so I'm going to try and keep it light. Okay, and then I will trace it again. And if I end up going off screen, just kind of shout at me because I rearranged some camera things and trying to kind of get a little bit higher, more zoomed in picture so it would be higher quality, so that when I'm editing video I can, digitally zoom in even more. So I had to arrange the camera so that that would work. And now sometimes I find I'm pulling things off camera a little too much when I'm working because of the different spacing. Alright, so we're starting to get there. Okay, the other thing I can do is once I've got it started, just a sharp pair of detail scissors, I can tip those in and kind of trace along my start cut line. And sometimes it'll just kind of pop loose. Okay, let's see if that is enough room to get... Nope. Okay, where do I want to go now? I think I want to bring it down this way so that maybe I can just continue it with scissors so that I can get the whole photo onto the page. Let's see. I'm going to... Okay, I'm glad the scissors are working because I do much better with scissors. And it did tear a little bit. Let's see, but that part that tore is going to be under the photo, so we won't see that. Let's go ahead and tuck that back. Okay, and very close. Let me see. Very close. It's just a little bit off up here, which means the whole thing needs to come down. So do I want to cut through the water or do I want to come? I think I'm just going to follow the line and come around the trees. So we're going to kind of lose a lot of that water, but that's okay. I'm going to follow those trees. And then we'll follow the branch of this tree. And I'm just going to kind of wiggle my scissors to make it look kind of branchy. And there we go. I think I don't want to lose too much of the word, so this is going to be a tight fit, but right about there it just makes the edges of the paper. So I'm going to go ahead and get that tacked in place. So I'm going to leave kind of the edges open a little bit so that I can tuck some pieces in here and there. Okay, that's good. We'll save that one for making some tags. All right, I do have a few of these embellishments that are outdoorsy, but before we do all that, let's make sure we get our mystery ingredients on here. So, pardon the crinkle, but I'm going to get this open. Oh, I don't think I realized this is a Tim Holtz set. Huh, that's interesting. He usually has a grungier, kind of more vintagey things, so this is a little bit different. You know what I'm thinking? I'm looking at these blank Polaroids, and I think I might want to add, instead of using the pre-made ones, I think I might want to add my own stamping into some of those. So let's start there. I need a stamp block. Lynn says, you like using this technique, especially on papers you don't want to cut? Yes. So I did lose some of the details of the background because there were mountains back there and the water back there, but I still get most of the feeling of it. And I do like the texture that kind of having this lifted edge adds to it. So yeah, this is a technique that I learned from somebody else and I had to be brave and try it. Because this was not something I felt comfortable with right away. And once I started using it, then I realized, okay, it's worth the struggle with the craft knife. Do you struggle with the craft knife, Lynn, or do you do okay with it? I'm curious. It's like sometimes people tell me how bad they are at fussy cutting, and I'm like, but I don't have a problem with fussy cutting, so I don't quite understand. But when I use my craft knife, then I'm like, oh, this is what they mean. This is the struggle. All right, so this one has, I'm trying to figure out how much I want to cover up so that I don't get the words. And I think it's far enough away that I don't have to worry too much about it. I think I'm going to ink this way so I have a little more control. And I got the S on there a little bit, so I will use my rag to kind of clean that up a little bit. And let's see how this looks. And lantern. Not too bad, not too bad. I could always add a little bit more color to that with some markers or some other inks. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this out. And maybe I'll use these as some, like the date and location labels to put down where they went and when they were gone on their trip. I should have taken a picture because when they got back from their trip, they had a pan of dirty dishes that they didn't wash while they were camping just because of timing. So they brought them home. And then that pan of dirty dishes, sorry Fiona if you ever watch this, that pan of dirty dishes sat on our back porch for quite a while until one day I was just done with that. And I had to make her clean it up. Normally she's really good about that kind of stuff, but for some reason this one just kind of got missed. And I had to insist that it get cleaned up. So she apologized and she did it, but that was one of those funny moments that I think a lot of parents have with their kids, but I haven't had to deal with that stuff very much because she's definitely been a responsible one. All right, I'm cutting out a few more of these so I can set that paper out of the way. And I like this one because it has a little bit of mountainy range on there, which kind of goes with the mountains that we cut off. So I am going to put a heart on that one, I think. Let's swap our stamps here. And you know, I probably should have, oops, I got that upside down, silly me. I don't think I want to do any watercoloring on this one because it's already got the mountains and I don't want to cover those up. Lynn says she does okay with the craft knife. That's good to know. I don't know what it is with me and craft knives, but I just have a hard time. It's like I always thought it was that maybe I wasn't using sharp enough craft knives, and one time I had gotten kind of in a similar situation, just a random box. I had gotten some brand new craft knives. In fact, it was these ones that came in some kind of package that I didn't purchase myself, some kind of random thing. And I thought, okay, brand new craft knives, I'll do great. Nope. Still don't do great with the craft knives. Okay. These are getting cut out. I'm not going to spend too much time on details, but we'll get at least 3 of these because I always work in 3s when I am embellishing. I very much love the rule of 3s. All right, so which other one did I say I wanted to use? There was the heart, the star. The star, that's the one I haven't used. Yeah, let's get a star. We'll figure out where these will go a little bit later. But we'll get the embellishments made now so we don't forget our mystery ingredients. And I think I did not get too much over inking on there. I think this is where I'm coming off the screen a little too much. All right. Okay, I am calling those 2 ingredients used. So we still have the dye that we need to make sure we use. I'm going to set these off to the side for the moment. That's garbage. All right, let's think about this dye next. And I already cut it out, so I don't need that. So it has the outline, and it has Slay Every Day. Huh. How do I want to? I like the word slay. Let's go ahead and cut out the whole thing, and maybe I like the idea of cutting it out of this black paper. We'll see how it looks with the print on there. I think these images are small enough that they'll still show up on the letters. So let's give this a go. I'm going to do it up here because I need to cut off this whole area anyway. Make sure it's right side up. And that way, if I want to use more of this paper, I have enough that I can do something else with it on other parts of the layout. So, die cut. I like to make sure I tape it down because when I think things are going to be fine, they always slip on me. So we'll get that tape down. All right. Helps if the machine is on. Hopefully that's not too loud on the camera. I was muting the microphone the last few times I did die cutting on camera, but I'm not so sure that it's actually showing up that loudly on the video. So let me know if it's too loud. I can mute the mic. Okay, here we go. All of these letters are definitely dropping out. Let's see if I can get it to kind of stay in place. Yep, all the letters are here. So S, oh, where'd the L go? So you can see how they notched out and they have to puzzle piece back in. You might be able to leave a little bit of a gap, and you can kind of see that on here so that the letters read a little more clearly. I don't think I want to use the everyday word yet, but I'm gonna, yeah, see here's the A, and you can see how the top of it just has a little bite out of it because it's meant to nestle together with the other letters. I'm not so sure I can use those separated. Okay, I'm trying to find, with the pieces that are falling out, trying to find what happened to the L. Here's an E, there's the V, E, is this an R? I think that's the R, but every, that's the other Y, and the other Y for this one. Okay, I'm definitely setting them. Oh, here's the A for sleigh. I'm setting them off screen so you can't see them, but I am still looking for the L. It has to be here somewhere, right? It's not stuck in my die. It's not stuck on my cutting plate. I wonder when I lifted it up to tap it down if it kind of fluttered away. Did you notice everything? Oh, Lynn says the die cutter's not too loud. Okay, that's good to know. Oh, it flipped upside down and landed on my photo. So there's my L. Hooray! How many of you just lose things just sitting here? I've lost so many things recently just sitting here. In fact, I found something when I was getting ready for this live in one of my drawers because I just set it down with something else in my drawer and totally forgot it was in there. It was a whole package of embellishments that I had been looking for. So I'm glad I finally found that. All right, let's trim off the branding strip because I forgot to do that. And my words just fell off, but they can sit over there. So this paper is from P13. It was a company that started probably before the pandemic because I had seen them be revealed at one of the big craft events for the industry. And in fact, I saw Alice Bowl interview them, the company, and they're from Poland, and they make some really beautiful things. So this is P13 paper, and I like a lot of their elements. Okay, so we're gonna get our word sleigh on here. So how can I incorporate this into the title or some kind of journaling? Let's see. What if I just say something like sleigh that road trip? I've got alphabets nearby. Okay, I think I will use these alphabets and I will spell out T H A T, that. Luckily I'm sure I have enough letters. I just gotta find them all. R O A. Oh, the D's on here are kind of interesting. There's only a few letters that have this blurry look to them. Road. T. R. I. And a P. Okay. So my letters are just very gently set on there, so I should still be able to move them around without them sticking. And I can bring over my glue to make sure everything is permanently stuck down. Let's keep this on screen. Do a little bit of tidying so it's not too distracting. Okay, that's just a little bit better. Has some breathing room. All right. I'm just gonna kind of have these words nestle in to the curve created by the trees. I'm a nestler. I like to tuck things into these kind of natural nooks when I'm creating. So we'll get this glued down. So how about any of you? Do you camp? Do you do hotels? I've done both. We had a little travel trailer for a little while, and when we had, years ago, we had a very high needs dog, and we couldn't leave her in in a kennel while we were traveling, and so we got a little travel trailer to be able to travel with her. And we did the travel trailer thing for quite a while. And it was nice to have our own beds and our own, a refrigerator that would keep things cold and not be full of puddles of ice water like a cooler. Okay, let's see. How do I want to... I think I want to nestle that here, and then we'll put Road Trip down. I think for now I'm not going to glue all of these, but at the end of our live I will come back and add glue, because I do not trust any pre-made adhesive these days. I've had so many things fall off my layouts that I just make sure everything gets glued. Okay, I'm going to tuck these in temporarily to make sure I've got spacing right. Good. Okay, looks like I might need to move it over a little bit. So let's start backwards. I often go backwards when I am trying to space things, and that just makes the most sense. So we'll kind of swap things out as I backtrack. Need to get the R in there. Oops, not on top of each other. And I am purposely kind of wobbling them, because if I try to get them straight, they're going to end up wobbly. So I will do it on purpose, and then nobody will ever know that I cannot get things straight. Okay, road. Oh, I still have to move some things. Okay. I really like making titles with different fonts and a larger font and a smaller font, so a title and a subtitle. So that is something I really like to do. I'm curious what other people like to do with their titles. Do you like to keep it sweet and simple? Do you like to mix it up? R, O, A. Now I'm going backwards and getting myself confused. Okay. Okay, that'll work. All right, before I run out of room, so we've got all three ingredients now, right? We've got our stamps, we've got our dye, the ink was easy with the stamps, so I've got the important part checked off of the Mystery Box Makes challenge. So now it's just a matter of putting some fun touches to things. I'm gonna pull out, this is my little bin of dies that I keep close by, and these are all the very simple repetitive shapes that make that I use over and over again. So tags being one of them. This is one of my most used die sets ever, and this is a scrapbook.com nested tag die set, and I use this thing a lot. Let's see, what is the back of this paper? Oh, I had put this into a scrapbook kit and never used it. This side, I had put this side into a kit and never used it. So both sides of this could possibly be used. In fact, I have an idea. Let's decorate our tags with the back side. What size do I want? I don't think I have a lot of room. I don't know, do I want to make them tuckable? I think I do. Okay, so I'm gonna, luckily this adhesive is forgiving enough that I have a little bit of working time with it. So I'm gonna kind of undo what I did before. And sometimes I will use an adhesive eraser, but I find that my finger really, with this is an ATG tape runner from, it's not from the company that made the ATGs. I think that's Scotch. It's from a third party, Tape Jungle. There we go. Had to remember it. So this is the ATG tape from Tape Jungle, and I find the forgivingness of that very helpful. The actual Scotch brand ATG refills that I had used in the past were not nearly as forgiving, and so when I switched to this brand, I had a pleasant surprise because I didn't know it was going to necessarily work like that. All right, so that, I'm going to think about how far down these tags will go, and then I'm going to make sure I have some adhesive near that area, not right up against it, because it always needs a little room to slide. So I will make a little stopper with the adhesive so the tags don't fall down inside of my pocket, and that will give me plenty of room to put my journaling. And again, I want to be careful not to cover up too much of these words, because that is the fun part of this photo. Okay, now I've got sizing. I'm going to cut 2 of these on the die cut machine, and then I'm going to go ahead and cut this down to size so it can fit better in the machine, and that'll be good. Move alphabet out of the way and get these die cuts. I want to make sure it doesn't slide because I want that's the other thing. I could cut it this way so it's more like a plaid, and that would make it easier to write on. So I think actually I'm going to do that, because this is going to be my journaling. I want it as easy to write on as possible. So I'm going to cut it that way, and that still gives me enough room to make 2 tags. And I'm thinking that I want to use these letters to put a title on top of each tag, and one will say, I'm going to remove, let's see if I can do that. It's got a sensor in it, and usually it just shuts off the motor, but it was not shutting off, so I had to pull it out of there. Okay, I am going to grab a piece of parchment paper. This is what I use when I want to do temporary stickers, because they will peel off of the parchment very easily. And so I can get these letters set aside and not worry about having to adhere them all down live. Speaking of which, how are we doing on time? We're at the hour, so I think we're gonna go over today. And if you need to leave because you've got other life things going on, I totally get it. So do what you need to do. And if you want to watch the rest of it later, it will be available. Okay. And so I'm going to put my view and your view. And this is another great thing about having small alphabet stickers, because you get lots of repeat letters, and so you can spell a lot more things than you can with the larger alphabet sets. So that will go at the top of one of these tags. Let's go ahead and cut the other one out first, and then we'll be able to put things together. I'm going to go ahead and just nip that off so it's not getting in the way when I run it through the machine. We'll set that aside. Oh, I forgot to put the tag hole on there. That's okay. I can always use a hole punch. This set does have these different holes that you can nest into the little notch of the tag and then tape it down and then run it through, and it'll make the hole for you. And because it notches in there, it'll center it just where it needs to be. But I forgot to do that, so I will just get out a hole punch in a moment. But you know, it's kind of okay that I forgot to do that, because the other thing I want to do is use some of this scrap to adhere to the top of the tag using these flowers. I'm gonna give this a little bit of a tear for some texture before I do that. And I'm just gonna glue it down. Let's see. Yep. I'll just glue it down right about there. I want to kind of count how many rows of plaid there are to make them about the same. And I think that this one fit. I don't need this tape at the moment. I can get rid of that. I think this will work if I don't tear it too much. When I was at one of our Scrap Happy gatherings called reunions, there was one of the ladies there who did not like to tear things, and so it became a little bit of a joke that it's like, if Amy can tear it, anyone can tear it. So that kind of became one of our in-jokes that time. Was that back in 2024? I think so. So that's fun when you can get together with scrappy friends and you start building those community moments. It's really nice. I don't know, Lynn, if you remember that at all, because I believe Lynn was there. So she experienced that. That's how I know Lynn is from our Scrap Happy group. So it's fun to like get to meet your online friends in real life. It becomes that much more special if you have a group that you can hang out with. Okay, so I'm not going to do both of these right now because it'll take a little while, but the idea is to get this little title up here. And I'm going to tighten these up together. And again, going backwards to get the spacing to be okay. It's even going backwards, it's getting a little close. And then I'm just overlapping these ones so that I have more room. And then regular hole punch, despite, I'm just gonna eyeball it. And then I have this, which is a hole punch reinforcer that we can punch a decorative piece out of. I think I might go ahead and use another scrap of black. Let's see, I don't know if I have enough on here. I can't ever see on this one where it's gonna punch, so it's a gamble. Then you punch and it falls out, and I missed. You can see it got cut off there. Okay, I'm not gonna try again with that. I will go ahead and use something that I know will work, and then I'm gonna want 2 of those, and then I can glue that on. And I will probably finish up the other tag off camera a little bit later, so that I'm just giving you the idea of where I'm going with all of this. So I'm gonna save all of this stuff to finish that tag later. And then let's start cleaning up a little bit and not forget our embellishments here. So I will tuck these in here, and I don't mind if things pop up a little bit off, but you can't see it. Oh, because when I put the adhesive on my photo, I did not think about clearing the corner. Oh, I have a bee. I have a bee in here. It must be season. Let me grab a little bowl. So I keep a beehive in my backyard that is mason bees. So they are native to our area, and they come out way earlier than any other bees do. and they are better pollinators for the native species around here. And I keep that beehive by the back door, and I don't know if you want to see. These are our little mason bees, and they are cutie pies, but this guy got in the house, and I don't know how, but I'm going to take it out, so I'll be back in just a minute. All right, I am back. I love my little bees, but I love them outside, not inside. And I did notice taking it out there that the beehive has started to wake up, so that's like one of the first signs of spring around here. And I will sit on the back porch because they're right near the back porch, and I will just like let them fly around me because I love the little buzzing, and they have cute little antennae. And they don't sting or anything like that, so there's no worries about anything like that. And I really love them outside. I do not really love them inside. All right. Oh, since we're talking about camping, that was a little outdoorsy adventure. Okay, I am going to use some powder to remove that excess sticky from that adhesive, and it did get on my table. I will clean that off later, but for now, I will powder that also to prevent it from sticking to what I'm working on. And that will solve that for now. All right, as I was saying, I don't mind if these tags stick up because my album binders are big enough that there is room for a little bit of stuff to stick up. So I will probably tuck those down about like that, and they can stick up just a little bit. I don't know if I'll tie any twine on them or anything. I might leave it like that. All right, I wanted to put the date on one of these, and that is where my note card comes in handy. So this says 10/11/24. Was it really in October? That does not sound correct. Oh, I know. I took this photo after they came back from their trip, and that is the date that I took the photo. See, I should have made that note on here. So I will do this. On one of these, I will put a heart. I think on the heart one, I will put, this is a Stampin' Up! Rotating alphabet stamp, and so I can spell anything I want, and it's easier than fiddling with little individual alphabet stamps. And I will spell the word photo, and then I will put the date on there. Let's see if I can. I'm gonna P, and then H. So yes, you guys have to be patient with me as I spell. This is the challenge of going live. I used to do these mystery box, I'd film them and then edit them because this kind of stuff takes a long time, but it's part of the process. And so I did struggle with the idea of what do I do live while all of this stuff is so boring to watch, but I'm trying it. And if people don't end up liking it, that's okay. So I want to bring that ink back in since it was one of our mystery ingredients. This gives us another chance to use it. And I am going to test my spelling to make sure I didn't get anything backwards. Or, let's see, nope, it's not quite aligned right, so that's why I test it. This is really, maybe it could be that part of the ink pad is kind of dry, because like I said, these supplies have been sitting in that box for close to 2 years. Trying to remember exactly. Okay, that's working. Let's go with the heart. That's what I was gonna do. Photo, and then I have a date one that is the same style. And if you hold the branding towards you and start on the right, that usually makes the flow correct when it gets reversed when you turn it over. So that is 10, and then dash, and then 11, and then dash 24. 24. Okay, that should be correct. And I had another date stamp that I liked better because everything was just closer together, but it was very specific years and it expired. So I'm going to have to toss it. I don't like that. So even though this one is not compact, it's the one I'm using. And yes, the date is correct. So there we go. That looks pretty good. And I might tuck this one up here as part. I always like to make a cluster of embellishments around my title. And then I think I will go ahead and put the word trip, and then once I find the date for that, I can add that on there later. T R I and QP. Okay, and then I just like to shove those ones out of the way so that I can not have to worry about masking things off when I am stamping. I wish companies still made these. I did find, like on Amazon, there are stamps like this made by like office supply places. If you like this idea, you can look on Amazon for alphabet roller stamp and you might be able to find something. I have come to really like this for these little accents that I want to do. So okay, so now I still have the star. I'll put the date on that one later. I'll need to clean that later. And then what else do I want to do? Let's look at some embellishments. The other thing I can do maybe is cut out some of these and layer them as accents behind the pieces we created. Let's see if I want to do that. Okay. Just kind of looking at the clock again because I don't want to keep you guys too long. I do appreciate you spending time here, by the way, because I know there's a lot of ways that you could be spending your time, and you'll hear me say this over and over again if you stick around, but I do know there are many things you can be doing with your time, and the fact that you choose to hang out here with me is a real compliment. So I do thank you for that. Thank you for being here and sharing your time with me. All right, I'm gonna kind of offset these like this. And then let's see if we can come up with a couple more. I like the cooking one because they had a lot of challenges making food because they didn't have a real camp stove. So they had some issues with their food making while they were camping. But they said it was totally worth it, and they got like pouring rain the first night they were there, and it leaked into their tent, and their bedding got wet, and all of their clothes were wet, And Fiona said, I still had a great time. In fact, the first day they were trying to go out and about, it was still pouring rain, and they had to stop at like a tourist shop to pick up some sweatshirts because they didn't pack sweatshirts. They expected it to be sunny and we're not expecting the rain. So they wanted sweatshirts anyway. They were planning on embroidering the date and stuff on their sweatshirts as a reminder of their trip together. So that worked out because they wanted sweatshirts anyway. But they definitely learned a lot about a little more planning just in case. And yeah, luckily most of their stuff dried out enough for, I don't know, I think they were there for 3 days or something. It wasn't a hugely long trip. And most of their stuff dried out well enough that they managed. But I was going to move this one up here, but yeah, the food aspect was definitely a little complicated while they were there. Do I want... I think I might let this one bleed off the edge just because I want it to be a little bit smaller than the other one. So I will trim that off later. For now, just kind of put a dab of glue to start sticking things down. I'm not going to be too technical with my glue at this point, just because I'm trying to get this finished but still not fall apart on us. This one needs some glue. And then, so this one has the photo date. Oops, that one's not wanting to stick because I didn't get enough glue. This one has the date I took this photo. This one will have the date of their actual trip, and I think on this one I will put the location of their actual trip. And I will do that off camera also. So that is the plan for these little embellishments that we put together with the mystery supplies. And okay, that's pretty good. Now, do I have some embellishments work? So they were on the coast a lot of the time, so I think I will put in some seashells. These are super cute. I had gotten these during a different mystery box, and these were super cute. It'd be fun to play with these again. They're a little bit big. Maybe I can add one or two. I don't know that I like that. That feels a little big. Okay, maybe I'll just add the one up there, and we'll get these seashells, which have some similar kind of chunkiness to them. I try to, when I'm doing embellishing, I try to keep some similar elements in between so that the things don't feel like they're kind of out of nowhere. And since that has some chunkiness to it, I think I'll add some of these chunky seashells. And I don't know what else is in that bag. I think some of the other embellishments must be in my Simple Stories files, because I have a lot of travel, a camping collection from Simple Stories, so I think I might want to go and look for that as well. Let's see, that one has a shank on the back. I don't want that one. Let's keep the colors pretty neutral so they're not standing out too much. But we can use a couple over there. And these ones are even thicker. Maybe I'll just use one on that side. Okay, I'm just gonna set these aside and try to put them away later. I'm doing this now where I'm just shoving everything off of camera. Okay, what else have we got in here? We have, I think there's some bears in here somewhere. I was thinking about using one of these bears. Here we go. I'm thinking, so one of the fun things that they did was to drive through the redwoods, and that was kind of their goal on this trip. And they did get lost in the woods for a little while because the pathway became unclear at one point. So I'm glad they figured out how to work their way back out of the redwood forest so they didn't meet up with any wild animals over there. So yeah, they were kind of there. Well, I guess it was summertime. I'm pretty sure their trip was during the summer. So, but I think it was late in the evening when they went out for their walk. So it was starting to get dark, and they couldn't quite remember where their trail had gone. So definitely lots of adventures, and I'm hoping that she has enough room to write some of those details on there, because she told us all about them, and I was definitely excited to hear all their stories. Okay, I'm just gonna okay. This guy can kind of hang off the edge over here, I think. And again, I will trim that off a little bit more later. I'll go ahead and glue the front part of his body down. And I'll get more glue on there later. Let's see. What else have we got in here? Little headlamp, more lanterns. Okay, I know the time is getting a bit late. I'm about 15 minutes to my hard cutoff, but I am going to grab one more set of supplies and I'll see how we do. Hi, kitty. Hi, kitty. Okay, this is my simple story stash, and I know the camping collection should be in here somewhere. In fact, we've got some of that, some of that. I don't think I want those. I thought I had a book of stickers. There we go. That's it. Don't think I'm going to want those, but we'll check them out. Okay. Let's start with the stickers, because I think these will be small enough scale that we can add a few bits and pieces here and there. Like this campfire would be fun. See if we can find, and there it is. I still have that one. So let's go ahead and add a campfire. I know it would kind of make sense to do it over here, but it is a different graphic style than kind of the watercolory realism. This is definitely different, so I think I will just go ahead and add it to this cluster instead of trying to make it fit in with something it doesn't fit in with. Let's do a couple of cute little moths. I think Miss Willow is chasing the bees because she is now tapping at the window. I think the bees must have found a little groove to come in. We did have them in our bedroom last year because they were nesting in the casing of the window, and they found a little hole that made it into the house, so we had to evacuate multiple bees last year. Oh, I like this camera. Let's put this over here, and we can add it maybe to this side of the title. What else have we got? Maybe we'll add just some bits to be layers behind things. How about a tab? I passed up. I thought I saw some tabs. There they are. Bird, moth, ladybug. Did put a moth over there already. How about, I don't think I want that color actually. Put that back up there. Green? I can go with green. I think that would work. Just kind of add just a couple of little pieces as layers behind things. Nope, that one's pink. I don't think I want that. This one's, maybe not. Let's see if there's anything else in this sticker book. And this is the This is the part where I get really indecisive on what I want to use. And I tend to like move things around a whole bunch, but sometimes a good lesson is to just make a decision, stick it and go. Okay, I don't think I want any more of those stickers. I've got, let's see, these are mostly titles. Oh, there's a little compass here. They did get lost in the woods, so this compass makes sense. Well, let's see, where can we add this one? Maybe, okay, that isn't glued down yet, so maybe we can tuck that in over there. And then some chipboard. Oh, I like the camp chair, although there's already a camp chair right there. How about a feather? That would be cute. Oh, this is already... Just something that kind of nestles around. Okay, let's see. Is there anything else I want to add? All right, you know what? I am going to go ahead and call it there. So I'm gonna, let's see, my screen is a little, okay, I'm gonna call it there. And so I will do a little bit more trimming. I do have my little seashells and my bird that need to get glued in place, but I will lift this up and see if I can give you a little bit of a closer view without dumping everything off on the floor. So yes, I will trim that, and I will trim off the rest of the bear, and I will get these things glued in place, and I will write my journaling. So once this is all done, I will post some pictures on Instagram and on my blog so that you can see the finished thing, but really it's not going to be too much different than what you already see. So that's it. I hope you enjoyed joining me today. I will actually come back to my face to say thank you again for being here, and I really do mean that it is a compliment that you spend your time with me. I hope you got something interesting out of this, whether it is just seeing what I do with random supplies, or if you got an idea about how to use these Boulder graphic papers. What to do if you want to add some stamping. I don't know, there's a few things that we did today that maybe can inspire your own crafting, and it's just all about having fun, and that is why I do this project. So I will be back. My next live is on Friday. I believe it's the 27th. Let me double check the calendar. I buried my calendar. Yes, Friday the 27th will be the Advent All Year series, where I do use a specific set of products in case you want to do the project with me. But again, you can always get ideas, and we're doing an interactive greeting card next time. So if you want to learn how to do some of that, I will be back for that on the 27th, and then I will have some pre-recorded videos in the meantime. So thank you again for being here. I hope you have a good evening, and